Hello, my name is Luna and I'm 34 years old. Today I want to tell you about the most tragic yet hilarious thing that has happened to me. Consider this a way for me to honor my late sister-in-law because even when she was facing her end, she still managed to find humor in it. Let me begin by first telling you a little about my brother Leo. Leo is my younger brother. Growing up, he was my best friend, but as we got older, we each went our separate ways. Although we still made it a point to meet up with each other once a week. When Leo got to college, he began to do things that I didn't necessarily approve of. I'm talking partying till the sun rises almost every day, barely attending his classes, and constantly moving from one woman to another. Now, I know this is college life, but he had always been a studious kid, and seeing him go down that path made me nervous about his future. He also went from being a kind and empathetic kid to being a superficial jerk. I only didn't say anything because as far as I knew, he was being as safe as he could and he was abiding by the law. Fast forward to a few years after Leo graduated, and he had thankfully cleaned his act up. He had a great job, and he also had a girlfriend who he was with for a whole year before he introduced me to her. Her name was Alice, and she became my sister-in-law after they married 2 years later. Alice and I quickly became great friends after Leo introduced us to each other. She was a very funny and intelligent woman. We had a lot of common interests, and not to mention she made Leo happy and also made him into a better person. She was amazing in my eyes. However, after a year of marriage, Alice got into a horrible car crash while on her way to work. I still remember how distraught Leo had sounded on the phone when he called me to tell me about what had happened, and I still get goosebumps just thinking about it. Alice spent a long time in the hospital, and when she finally came out, the doctor told us that she would live. We were so happy, but that was momentarily shut down because the doctor also told us that she would be paralyzed from the waist down. Leo cried a lot that day, and it was not easy on all of us. It took a long while for Alice to recover, and when she was finally discharged from the hospital, Leo was tasked with taking care of her, considering he was her husband. I remember Leo asking Alice's mother, Maxine, if she could take care of Alice, but she regretfully told him that she couldn't because she had 2 young kids to look after. I remember thinking that it was odd that Leo would try to pass off taking care of his wife, but I didn't pry too much because I didn't think it was my place to do that. In hindsight, I think I should have pried though, because only 2 months after Alice got discharged from the hospital, she called me crying. She told me through sobs that Leo wasn't around and that she was covered in her own excrement. I rushed over and I helped clean her up. Okay, I've cleaned you all up. Thank you so much, Luna. You don't know how much you've helped me. Oh, hush. You're like my sister and I want to help you. I don't know how else to repay you, though. I know how you could. Maybe you could tell me why you're all alone. Wait. Isn't it time for you to go back to work? Don't try to change the subject. Where's Leo? I have no idea. He left yesterday to get some groceries and he hasn't come back yet. What? Why? I don't know. I mean, I knew that he was unhappy about my accident and my paralysis, but I was sort of hoping that he loved me enough to stay. Wait, you think he left you? Well, it's that or something really bad happened to him. I'd much rather think that he left than him getting hurt. Okay, since he hasn't been back for so long, I'm going to assume that you didn't get to eat anything either, so after I feed you, I'm going to call Leo and give him a piece of my mind. I don't think that's necessary. Why? He's abandoned you. While you're at your most vulnerable, of course he needs to be yelled at. But he never signed up for me becoming paralyzed. This is a huge change, and I can understand why he wanted to leave. I have a question for you, Alice. If the roles were reversed, that is, if he got into a horrible car crash and got paralyzed, would you have left him? Absolutely not. I love Leo, and I would want to stay with him no matter what. Then why are you excusing Leo's crappy behavior towards you, especially when you would never have treated him the same way? Look, he signed up for everything the day he married you. What happened to in sickness and in health? I don't know. I've been trying my hardest to not let this consume me, but I can't. It hurts too much to think about Leo leaving. I'm sorry. I got all upset at you. I'm not. I'm just so mad at Leo for doing this to you. I can't even begin to imagine what you're going through. It's hard. I haven't cried at all since he left, and I don't want to either. I mean, aside from the hurt, I feel so mad at him. You're right. There's no reason for me to excuse his behavior, but not excusing it is just hurting myself with the truth. Hey, it's okay. You know what? Why don't you come to live with me? That way, I can take care of you and you're no longer alone. I don't want to be a burden on you. You are never a burden, Alice. And that was a rhetorical question. You're going to come live with me. Thank you so much. You really are an angel. Words cannot even begin to describe how upset I was at what Leo had done. But before I could confront him about anything, I needed to make sure that Alice was doing all right. I fed her some food and gave her plenty of water to drink. When that was done, I helped her get back in bed and made her get some sleep for a while. I then went around the house and packed a few of her things up. I was not going to let her live alone. The only reason I didn't move there was because I figured Alice would have a better chance of feeling better if she didn't live in a place that was filled with memories of her and my stupid brother. After Alice had woken up, I helped her get in my car and off we went back to my place. Over the next 2 weeks, Alice was practically a mess. I watched her transform from being a person full of life to someone who was just a shell of her former self. She was always crying and my heart hurt for her. I wanted to desperately do something for her, and while I knew it wasn't all that helpful, I made sure that whenever I came back home from work, I would take her out, even if it was just for a coffee. Aside from that, I also kept trying to get in contact with Leo in any way that I could, but he either never read my texts or didn't care to reply to them, and he never picked up my calls. One day he finally picked up and I almost lost my head trying to keep my cool. Hello? Wow, you finally picked up your phone. I'm doing good. What about you? Quit the sarcasm, Leo. Fine. What do you want? What do you mean? Where in the world are you? I'm at home. Oh, yeah? Then explain to me why you were not there when I went over. Why was Alice all alone? Oh, wow. You found out fast. Are you going to explain yourself? I don't see why I have to. Leo, you left your paralyzed wife home alone, covered in her own excrement. Don't you think that deserves some explanation? Look, I just don't want to take care of her anymore. So you thought letting her rot at home was the solution? What else could I have done? You don't understand what it's like to have your spouse get paralyzed and become a weight on your shoulders. A weight on your shoulders. You promised her that you'd be by her side forever, no matter what happened. Oh, those were just words. You just have to say them. This is not what I signed up for. And in my defense, I really tried to be there for her. I really did, but she's just not the same anymore. You have no defense. If you had really tried, the least you would have done was talk to Alice about how you felt and then left her in the care of better hands. Running away is something that only cowards do. Spare me all this nonsense, please. I had to get away, and I did whatever I could to do it. If you're so big on taking care of Alice, maybe you should do it. I am, because unlike you, I actually have sympathy and empathy. I care for Alice, and I want to make sure that she'll be well taken care of. Well, I wish you nothing but luck in doing that. You can talk all high and mighty now, but give it a few months and you'll see exactly why I left. Alice could never stop whining and crying. It was torture. What do you expect from someone who has just been through something so horrific? She needs her space to heal, and you should have given her that. You've done nothing but add on to her trauma. Whatever. I don't care about her now anyway. I'm moving on to bigger and better things. Goodbye. I couldn't believe that my brother could be so insensitive and so inhuman. I was so in shock that I didn't even know how to react to what had just happened. I know I kept a rather level head while on the call with him, but on the inside I was shaking with rage for Alice. When Alice asked me later on if I was able to get through to Leo, I didn't know whether I should lie or tell her the truth. I ended up telling her the truth because I knew I wouldn't be able to live with myself if I lied to her. I guess hearing about that phone call woke Alice up from her heartbreak. She went from being mopey and sad about being left to full-blown hating on Leo. Whenever she could, she would make these hilarious digs at Leo, and I never saw her cry over him again. She gradually returned to her older self, full of life and laughter. Alice tried to get a divorce from Leo, but he never responded when he got served with the divorce papers. If Alice wanted to pursue the divorce, it would have taken a lot of money, which she did not have considering all her medical bills, so she just let it be. Time went on, and Alice and I became the best of friends. It felt nice to come home to a not empty home. The first year and a half of living together was great, but then everything started to go downhill. It started with Alice getting a cut on her leg, which she obviously didn't feel. I didn't see it because she always had her legs covered, and she usually didn't need my help getting dressed or taking a shower. Alice must have seen it, but she didn't think it was a big deal. The point is that the cut went unnoticed for 2 weeks, and unfortunately, it got infected. I'm going to spare you all the gore, but Alice's body was too weak to fight the infection, and she was quickly put in the hospital. The infection had spread too far for anything to be done to stop it. The doctors gave her a few weeks to live. I was devastated. I knew that Alice was too, but she kept a brave face for everyone that visited her. Only I caught her crying at night, and it took everything in me to not break down at the sight of it. The very last thing that Alice made me do for her included hiring a lawyer for her so that she could create her will, and then asking me to sit by her side till she breathed her last breath. The first one was easy. The second, not so much. I was pretty much inconsolable for the first few days after Alice passed away. Her funeral was quickly arranged, and her entire family flew out to attend it. After the funeral was done, some of her family members stayed back, and I let them stay with me. We were all grieving, and even though I didn't know them all very well, it felt nice to not be alone in my grief. I had almost completely forgotten about Leo until he showed up at my house just a week after Alice passed away. "What are you doing here? What do you think? I heard Alice passed away." "You feel guilty about it now? Well, it's pointless." "I don't feel guilty about it at all. I feel great. Ever since I left her, life has treated me real good." You are a piece of work. Get out. I don't want to see you or ever hear from you again. Please don't be so dramatic. I'm here for only one thing. What is it? I'm here to collect my inheritance. Inheritance? You came here for that? Well, I got a call from Alice's lawyer, and she told me that Alice left me something in her will, and that something is $50,000. You're lying. She hated you. Why would she leave you so much money? Clearly, she didn't hate me enough. Did she leave you anything? No, but I don't care for any of that. That's a shame. Why? The most valuable thing she gave me was letting me be a part of her final moments. That's something that no amount of money will ever compare to. Yeah, I'd like to see those precious final moments of yours pay the bills. Look, you need to leave. Everyone's grieving right now, so why don't you come back in a few days and collect whatever you need to? No, I came here for one thing, and I'm not leaving without it. I can't help that you're jealous of what I got. I'm not jealous of you at all. I know that I'm a way better person than you, and that's enough for me. Please, I know you're upset that Alice didn't leave you anything. I mean, you spent 2 years taking care of her like a fool, and she left you nothing. Leo, please get off my property right this instant. I will call you when her inheritance is announced. What if I say no? Is her lawyer present there? I want to speak to her. No, only a few of her family members and a few friends are here. You need to leave before you upset anyone. Everyone here hates you with a passion, so leave. Fine, whatever. But this is not over. I'm going to talk to her lawyer and see exactly what she's left to me. And then I'm going to flaunt it in your face till you cry. You're going to regret calling me a horrible person because you're going to see Alice for the monster she truly was. I couldn't believe the nerve that Leo had to show up at my doorstep 2 years after he abandoned Alice. And only to get his inheritance. It took every ounce of self-restraint to not punch him in the face. I slammed the door in his face and went back into my house. What was more upsetting to me was that Alice actually left $50,000 to him. I knew how much she hated him more than anyone. Then why would she have felt the need to leave anything at all to him? I mean, sure, he was still legally her spouse, but surely that didn't mean that she had to leave him something, right? I couldn't keep thinking about it, though, because the more I thought about it, the more upset I got. And I was sad enough already. I didn't expect Alice to leave me anything at all. I really didn't. Living with her for the last 2 years didn't feel like a burden at all. It just felt like I was living with my best friend. But at the same time, I couldn't help but feel disrespected because she left Leo with such a huge amount of money. Anyway, over the next 2 days, I tried to put those thoughts out of my mind. I was also trying my best to get through the grief of having lost Alice. But then I got a call from Alice's mother, Maxine. Hi, Alice, are you free to talk for a few minutes? Yes, of course. How are you doing? Well, I'm getting by, I suppose. What about you? Same here. The house feels so empty without Alice here. Thank you so much for helping her out, by the way. If I didn't live so far away and have 2 young children to take care of, I would have helped her out myself. You don't have to thank me for anything, Maxine. Alice understood your troubles and never wanted you to feel bad about not being able to help her out. It's okay. I'm just glad that I was able to help Alice out. Alice was right. You're an amazing person. It's a shame that you're related to that disgusting brother of yours. I know. And I'm so sorry that Alice had to go through all of that with him. I never thought that he was capable of being so inhuman. You have nothing to worry about. Besides, if Alice hadn't met her brother, then she would have never met you either. That's one way to look at things. I called you to tell you something, though. Oh, what is it? So, did you see Alice's will? No, but I don't think she left me anything. What are you talking about? She left you her house. What? But the other day, Leo came over and gloated about how Alice had left him $50,000 and nothing for me. Wait, how did he find out about that? Apparently, Alice's lawyer called him to tell him that. Oh, good. She followed Alice's orders. I don't get it. What's going on here? Well, you see, Alice really hated Leo, especially after she saw what a good person you are and after you opened her eyes to Leo's disgusting behavior that existed during the entirety of their marriage. So she asked her lawyer to make sure to call Leo up as soon as she passed away to collect his inheritance from her. Okay, but if she hated Leo, why did she leave him $50,000? Aren't you curious about how she had $50,000 to begin with? I am, but I didn't think it was my place to ask. Well, it is. Alice never had $50,000 in cash or her bank account. What she did have it in is Blockbuster cards. What? Hold on. So you're telling me that she's giving Leo her cartons full of useless Blockbuster cards? Yeah, she wanted to leave Leo with one last screw you for abandoning her. Oh my God, that's awesome. Did you really think that Alice would leave without giving you something? I wouldn't have minded anyway, but Leo will be coming over tomorrow. It will be amazing to see the look on his face. If you could record it, that would be lovely. I would love to see the look on his face when he sees what Alice left him. Of course, I'll do it for you. I couldn't believe it. Of course, Alice would want to do something to mess with Leo for abandoning her. Why did I not think about it that way? I was so caught up in my grief that I couldn't think rationally. I did feel bad for doubting her, but at the same time, I knew that she did that to mess with me and then make me feel happy. So of course, I was going to let her plan unfold beautifully. I asked Maxine to send me a copy of Alice's will so I could give Leo the proof of his inheritance if he asked for it. Then I texted Leo and set up a date to meet him to give me his inheritance. I asked him to meet me the next day so I could go over to Alice's house and find a box of Blockbuster cards. I always knew that she was a movie fanatic, but to know that she dropped that much on Blockbuster, yikes. Thankfully, they were a ton of cards all dated at different times, so it made me feel better that she never spent that much in one go. Anyway, I began sprucing the place up a bit as well. After all, she left me with one of the most important things she owned, the house she worked very hard to buy. It took everything in me to not break down when I entered. Yet at the same time, it felt strangely calming to be in the space that Alice once considered her home. I found the box of Blockbuster cards pretty easily, and then I decided to spend the night there. The next day around noon, Leo came to the house. He walked with a sort of swagger that he never had and a smug smile on his face. I tried my hardest to keep a sad face on so he wouldn't know about the trick that Alice had played on him. I also set my phone up by the garage to record a video of the entire interaction. Hello, I'm here to collect my inheritance. Yeah, I know. I didn't think you'd come here to see me. I actually kind of did. I wanted to see how pathetic you looked. And you kind of do. So that's nice. Real classy to make fun of someone who's grieving. You're grieving someone who used you for care and left you nothing after they died. I'm not the villain you think I am. I don't think you're a villain. I know you are. Whatever. Enough of this chit-chat. Give me my inheritance right now. All right. Here you go. A box? I don't get it. Is the money in here? Oh, yeah. Why don't you open it? These are all Blockbuster cards. Yes, and they're worth $50,000, so you're so lucky. What is this? Are you trying to play around with me right now? Nope. This is what Alice left you. Don't lie to me. I will file a case against you for withholding my inheritance. No need to get so worked up, Leo. Here's a copy of her will. Look, she even instructed her lawyer to call you and tell you about what she left you. So, this was all some sick joke. Did you really expect her to leave money to the fool who left her alone when she just got paralyzed? You did this! I know you must have been the one to tell her to leave me this joke. Believe me, Leo, I didn't do any of this. Besides, I could never come up with something this funny. Why did she leave you her house? Maybe because I took care of her until she passed. I'm going to take you to court. You're going to regret messing with me. Alice loved me. She did everything I asked her to, and there's no way that she would have done this to me. Oh, so you admit that you're a terrible guy who only stayed with her because you could use her. That's lovely to hear. Shut up. The next time you hear from me, it's going to be by my lawyer. You better be prepared. Do your worst. I'd like to see you do anything worse than what you did to Alice, though. You're impossible. Ugh. Leo angrily walked away from me, but he looked like a child throwing a tantrum. As soon as I closed the door, I couldn't help but burst out laughing. It was the first time that I properly laughed after Alice passed away. It made me feel good because, in a certain way, it felt like Alice knew that it would be the best way to cheer me up, and it really did. I don't know why Leo thought that Alice would have actually left him all that money. Leo really stuck to his word and tried to take me to court for influencing Alice to change her will, so I lawyered up as well. Before we could file an official complaint in court, though, our lawyers thought it would be best to see if we could settle our issues without involving the state by holding a meeting for all of us. While at this meeting, I showed Leo's lawyer all the proof I had against Leo. I showed his lawyer proof of him abandoning Alice just 2 months after she got paralyzed. I showed proof of how Leo never helped Alice financially even after he left. And most importantly, I showed the lawyer the video of the day that he came over to collect his inheritance. Needless to say, his lawyer did not want to take up his case after that. If anything, if Leo did take the case to court, he'd be held in contempt for abandoning his spouse and not helping her out financially. Leo tried to hire a few more lawyers after that too, but he could never manage to officially take the complaint to court. He eventually gave up on trying to get back at me that way. Instead, he took to social media to slander me. He made a lot of posts on Facebook that were essentially rants about how I was the worst sister and how I manipulated his late wife into leaving him nothing. Now, when I initially recorded our interaction on the day that Leo came to pick his inheritance up, I had only shared with Alice's mother, Maxine, which, by the way, we both shared a hearty laugh over, and the only other people that saw the video were my lawyer and the few lawyers that Leo involved when he tried to file a case against me. I never showed anybody else that video because I didn't think it was right to humiliate Leo anymore. But since he took to social media and tried to make me seem like the bad guy, because of which, by the way, I received a lot of messages from family and friends telling me that what I did wasn't right, I decided it would not be right to stay silent. So I posted the video on my account and then swiftly blocked Leo. Everyone that once criticized me was quickly on my side, and they even apologized for assuming things without asking me about my side of the story. Leo's in hot water with everyone, and from what a lot of our family members have told me, a lot of them have cut ties with him. It turns out he had lied to them about how he'd been taking so much care of Alice. He told them that he had to move to another state for work and left her in my care. Everyone had been praising him, but none of them knew the truth. I don't know what happened to Leo after that, but it's nice knowing that he finally got to face the consequences of his actions. As for me, I'm doing a little better. I'm still grappling with Alice's passing away, but I've decided to live in her house so I can feel like she's still there with me. Thank you so much for listening to my story, and I hope you enjoyed it.